Good morning, it's May 22nd, Sunday morning. Cloudy still and more rain coming this afternoon, but right now it's 8 degrees and not raining, so learned my lesson, only wearing a sweater so I don't get too hot wearing my jacket. I thought today I'd take a hike up to Mosaic Stadium. I've only been up there once on one of these walks. And just go up there, take a walk around, show you the home of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, which if you're from Saskatchewan, you already know, but if you're not, you don't necessarily. Saskatchewan Roughriders played in the Canadian Football League. Mosaic Stadium is pretty new. It's only built a few years ago. Before that, there was a very old stadium called Taylor Field, which was torn down after Mosaic was built. And we have season tickets that go back to my wife's grandparents. So they've been in the family now since the mid-60s, I think. And of course, we haven't been going to a game recently. So looking forward to that all starting up again. It's straight down Elphinstone, but first I have to get to Elphinstone. So a little bit of a trip through the Cathedral area, which also seems appropriate for a Sunday morning. I sometimes think I'm feeling a spritz of liquid from the sky, but it's not supposed to really rain seriously until later today, when we're supposed to get quite a bit overnight. It's been raining now for off and on for the last 2 or 3 days, which is great because it was really hot and dry before that. I shall have a podcast to do, or to finish off podcast episode. Been a little slow on this one. I might end up posting the episode, but not the transcript today. That's possible too. Features Jane Yolen, very big name in the field of science fiction and fantasy. My podcast, if you're just discovering these videos, I host a podcast called The World Shapers at theworldshapers.com, where I interview other science fiction and fantasy authors. I am myself a science fiction and fantasy author, about their creative process. Up to episode 80, I think today's will be 83 or 84. Can't remember, something like that. Started in August of 2018, at the same time that my book, World Shaper, which started a new series with Daw Books, a New York publisher, came out. And I've kept it going. It won an Aurora Award, top Canadian science fiction award, in 2019 for best fan-related work, and was shortlisted again, was a finalist again the next year. Things nice and green. And of course the anthology I've often talked about on here that I kickstarted last year, Shapers of Worlds, featured short stories from guests of the first year of the podcast. And I just kickstarted an anthology featuring guests of the second year called, interestingly enough, Shapers of Worlds Volume 2. So I'm working on that right now, with stories coming in and rewards going out. A lot of work. It's another very modern house that's replaced the older style. That seems to be very popular, these kind of really boxy houses, and I've seen some that I really like, but a lot of them are kind of, I don't know, dull, I think. And if you had a whole neighborhood of them, it'd be downright soul-destroying. Right, that might be a little harsh, but still. I prefer the looks of the older houses for the most part, even though most of these, like the 3 in a row there, are probably, you know, all the same basic pattern that the developer, well, there's several of them here that all match up. they're older, but they were, you know, kind of cookie cutter in their own way. I like variety. That's what I like, I guess. Realized before just how many of those there are. Exactly the same roof line. Don't walk down the street very often when I am walking. Or it just didn't strike me until just then. It's Robinson. So I'm zigzagging over to Elphinstone, which I have to go up to get to Mosaic Stadium, and I'll take a turn up there and around the Lawson Aquatic Center and Field House. I'll stay on this side. I was going to cross, but there's cars coming. So never a good idea to cross in front of traffic. Well, there's definitely a bit of drizzle in the air, so I hope I haven't made a horrible mistake. All right, here's Cameron. If we went left, it would take us to the footbridge I often take across the river, but I don't need to cross the river today, for once. We'll go this way. Over here, past this lovely cherry tree, with some lilacs in front of it as well. If you're online, watching live on YouTube or Facebook, please say hello. If you're on Facebook especially, so I know I've got sound, but on YouTube too. There, that one's nice, isn't it? I hear pigeons. I don't mind the sound of pigeons, but boy, they're messy birds. I don't want them anywhere near. We had last year, pigeons suddenly discovered a spot under our roof, under the eaves on one side of the house, where there were, you know, beams that come out. And they found this place where they could sit up there, and it happened to be directly over our side gate, and like directly, so everything that they dropped landed on that gate. So I actually had brought in an animal control expert to put some spikes on that, and it worked. They quit sitting there. We had them on our balcony of our condo a few years ago, and they made a huge mess. Had to get rid of them then too. This is Holy Rosary School. I know there was talk of closing it, but I don't know exactly where that stands. It's a Catholic school right next to the cathedral here, which we'll be walking past in a minute. It's the old part of the school, the original part. Does it have a date on it? I think I've looked before, and it does. 1924, maybe? Or 1914. Oh, there you go. So that's quite old, that one. I've been in there. I've been in a lot of the old schools, never in that one. Now see, there's a new one over there that is more in keeping with the traditional look of the neighborhood. I like that one a lot more than the boxy ones. We'll walk down here by the cathedral. You can see the spires there. The mural on the side of the school here. Cathedral would have been built same time as the school, I guess. It was about 1914 too, as I recall. Maybe a little earlier. Has a fairly minimalist inside, interestingly, the cathedral. Not a lot of ornamentation inside. I've sung in there a few times for this and that, and been to concerts there. There's the spires getting more and more above us. And over here, this was a nunnery, I believe. It's now condos. "13th Avenue Coffee House" across the street there. The Penny Bookstore, local bookstore, is in that brick building just a few doors down there. And just can't really see it very well through the trees. There, the brick one down there. It's the Penny Bookstore. We'll go this way. Actually, we'll cross the street if we can. This is an apartment building. I've been in there a long time ago. Must have been a long time ago because I went to pick up a girl for a date, and I've been married since '97, so sometime before that. Actually, a surprising number of people out walking on a Sunday. So there's the what used to be nunnery. Has a lovely chapel in it I've sung in, and I visited somebody who lived there at one point, so I have been in there. There's the Groovy Mama. I don't even know what they sell. Been there a long time, but I don't actually know what they sell. Massage therapy, the hair house. So these were once residences. A lot of them are businesses, not all of them. Along 13th here. We will go up Athol. There's another new one there. Nestled in among the original houses of the neighborhood. Haven't had any greetings from anybody watching this morning, so if you're there, please say hi so I know you're there. That would be cool. We're headed to Mosaic Stadium. Home of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. We were supposed to host Grey Cup, the Canadian National Football Championship, last year. Didn't happen, obviously. Huge blow to local economy, or at least the benefits didn't materialize that were expected to, I guess would be a better way to say that. Some old row-style houses here. There aren't too many like this in Regina. Much more common in Toronto and places like that. Here's Victoria Avenue. Decide if I'm going to cross or not, depending on current traffic. Here I can cross safely. So looking down, it's the one with the big boulevard down the middle. Walked along several times. Takes you right downtown. Has lots of historic stuff down there. Elphinstone is where the lights are up there. That's where we're headed. Don't know. I guess I can zigzag one more time to the right. think there should be one more street that connects, or is there? Maybe there isn't. So I don't think I will. If I go to the right, I'll end up on Saskatchewan Drive. And yeah, I don't actually want to walk along it, so I will stay here to Elphinstone. Because of the angle of Saskatchewan Drive, the blocks collapse down there, and all of a sudden there's fewer blocks between you and Saskatchewan Drive than there were further back. And since we're almost at Elphinstone, I'm pretty sure there's not a cross street I can get on there. It's very lonesome out here today. Nobody has said hi. Yesterday I had somebody walking along with me who was in Cyprus, which was cool. I've had people from India, Colombia, Brazil, and I don't know where because they don't tell me, but lots of people. One of the cool things about being on YouTube. Already, almost there, really. Just another block and we'll be at Mosaic. This will take us past the, so you can see there's not actually a street in there because it's Saskatchewan Drive is angled in this direction and reduce the distance between Victoria and Saskatchewan Drive. Whereas further off to the right, there's 2 or 3 blocks. By the time you get downtown, it's like 3 blocks between Victoria and Saskatchewan Drive. So there's Mosaic Stadium and the Dairy Queen. Been in there too, the Dairy Queen, that is. They have a basement room. Went to at least 2 kids' birthday parties there when Alice was growing up. I think 2, 1 for sure, I think 2. So a lot of Mosaic Stadium is actually below grade. Like, oh, I don't know, 25 rows or something of the stands or more in the field are quite a considerable distance below ground level. So it doesn't stick up as much as you might think, but it seats 35,000 or something like that. I don't have a light and I don't know how long I've got, so I guess I'll try it. Nope, no. Misjudged it just a little. So now we'll run to avoid getting run over. I did not get run over. Should have been paying attention to where the lights were before I got there. Across the railroad tracks, no cars, no trains coming. These tracks are a pain sometimes when you're trying to get somewhere in a hurry if a train's coming through. Albert Street's your best bet because it has an underpass. And I guess Winnipeg Street does too. But down here, you get stopped. So, there's Mosaic Stadium. One of the 4 gates, gate 4 in fact. And still nobody's saying, oh, this is cool. I must be all by myself this morning. Over here, it's hard to get a look through because of the, but if I get the camera in just the right place, I should be able to get a view without anything blocking it. So there you go. Mosaic Stadium. Our seats are over there in this picture. I can't really point them out to you, but they're over there on that side. So on game day, this would be packed with people. This is in the end zone. I get through a gap here, maybe get a better look. There you go. That shows you how much is below grade, because from there you can see the field. And there it is above us, Mosaic Stadium. Oh. Right above us is the back of the Jumbotron. That's one of the pillars holding it up. There's the actual back of the screen. Very, very large screen. I find them a little odd because you're watching the game and yet sometimes you're drawn to that because our eyes are drawn to televisions, and you end up watching TV even though you're sitting there in person. You end up watching the game sometimes on TV because they get a, well, especially if they're not close to you. There's the roof, such as it is. There was talk of a roof stadium, but no, dome stadium. Considering our climate, that might be nice, but playing in cold weather, over here is the access to the underground areas. Playing in cold weather is part, and sitting in cold weather is part of Saskatchewan Roughrider football, if you ask me. So another view from this gate. And a sign. And there's a nice park over here. During the fair, the exhibition, the temporary stage goes up here, and this is where the various acts that perform at the exhibition perform here. Sometimes reasonably big names. There's the side of the stadium. You see the cars down there. I presume that's the lineup for today's drive-through vaccination clinic. Those are still going on. My daughter went on Friday, because it's open now basically to everybody, 12 and up. She's 20, or about to turn 20. She went on Friday, got here at 9:30 in the morning. It doesn't open till noon. And she was there for 5.5 hours before she got her shot. So it took me 5 hours when I went a few weeks ago. So it's been a very popular thing. Now the whole family has one shot. My wife and I become eligible for our second shot on June 14th. And Alice becomes eligible on July 12th. After which we should be a fully vaccinated family. You know, this fountain's not running yet, but this is called Coronation Park, I think, which presumably means it dates back to Queen Elizabeth's coronation. If it's called Coronation Park, and I'm not making that up. Over there is the Brandt Center. So that's the big hockey rink where the Regina Pats play, Western Hockey League. And then more exhibition buildings there, and convention center. Been in there many times for this and that. This would be better if it was going, because you see you have these frogs that squirt water at each other and at the fountain. So several of the fountains I've walked by have been started up, but maybe they don't feel any urgency for this one since nothing is really happening down here at the stadium. Through those, the bottom glass there is a big lounge area that you can go into during the game and get concessions and actually have a bit of a table. And of course the game's always still on TVs all around it. And there's the signage again, Mosaic Stadium up there. Evraz Place, this is called. Queensbury Center. It used to be a racetrack here, a horse racing track. And the stands are basically on the other side of this. But that's long gone. The Brandt Center back there is also where we get lots of big acts, and we've seen Cirque du Soleil there a few times, saw Bob Dylan there. I remember going, I think the first thing I ever went to there was Alabama. Which kind of shows you. Sure, it'd be nice if somebody said hi to me this morning. If you're watching live, let me know, that would be cool. If you're not, well, that's fine. You're probably watching the recording then, and I hope you're enjoying it. So we've got some football statues, of course, this being the Saskatchewan Roughriders. This is George Reed, and that is Ron Lancaster. Hello. Looks a little larger than life size to me, of Ron. It's called the Little General. And George Reed, Ron Lancaster's. Never met either one of them. I've been in the same place as them. I never met them. Maybe George Reed once, I'm not sure. They were, when I was growing up in the 70s, it was George Reed, Ron Lancaster. Seemed like every year we made it to the Western Finals and Edmonton Eskimos would beat us. And then in 1976, my grade 12 year, there's a bunch of skating rinks over there and other exhibition spaces for the exhibition. 1976, my grade 12 year, I was only 16 when I graduated. I didn't turn 17 until a month after I graduated. So I would have been, I guess I was out of grade 12 because it would have been in the fall of 76, so I was 17 years old. They went to the Grey Cup, looked like they were going to win, and then they didn't. Ottawa beat them. It's heartbreaking, heartbreaking. But, oh, I'm taking another look in from here. But, there you can see the TV screen down there, how big it is. But they won in the 80s, and then they won in 97, and then they won, I made the Grey Cup, that is. And then they won here at Taylor Field, and that was the best night ever, winning the Grey Cup at home. Now this military stuff over here is because this is the armory on the other side of that fence. So Taylor Field was closer to Albert Street, and after the game was over, we all spilled out and they'd closed off Albert Street, and it was just solid people and everybody was happy and celebrating. And unlike some places, there was very little trouble on the street afterwards. I don't know, they might have arrested 1 or 2 people for some sort of disturbance, but there was no rioting or anything, silly thing like that. It was very exciting. Here's the Rider store for all your Rough Rider paraphernalia. Oh, look, there's me. Hi, me. And this is the sort of the big plaza. I don't know if they call it the Plaza of Honor. They have a Plaza of Honor dinner. So we'll take one more look in here before we leave Mosaic Stadium. go over here a little ways, we can get a bit more without that sign in front of it. There we go. Mosaic Stadium, home of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. There they are, looming over me up there. Faceless Roughriders, those two, because whoever posed for them's probably been cut by now. Retired. Oh, this guy's even bigger. And then there's this terrific sculpture here, which is quite cool. I'll take the ramp around, get a view of it. Get back a little bit to get the whole thing. Yeah, this is the Plaza of Honor, so you have people that donated. And there's the whole sculpture. And the artwork was made possible by a donation from the Kramer family, who are also involved with the Kramer IMAX Theatre at the Saskatchewan Science Centre where I worked. On 2 occasions, Roughriders were brought back from the brink of financial collapse to become a healthy, thriving football club, once in 1951 and again in 1961, thanks to Bob Kramer. And there's the inspirational quote on the side. As we evolve, we strive to soar higher. That soaring quest of our lives makes us who we are. In the act of sport, the fans create the lifting culture that unites us all and gives us a sense of togetherness, pride, and belonging, which is certainly true here in Saskatchewan. Better look at it there. Okay, so we will leave Mosaic Stadium behind. I'm going to go around to Lawson here, just to show it off a bit. So it's a swimming pool on this side and field house on the other side. My daughter was just there swimming not too long ago. Booked a lane swim. She's a good swimmer. I am not. I can barely back at the stadium one more time. So the other reason for coming this way is, since I've been talking about Mosaic Stadium, this takes me around to, you can see where Taylor Field used to be, which used to be the stadium. It was basically just glorified bleachers, that one. It really had only in the, you know, sort of special boxes where you're enclosed. Otherwise, if you were on the, I want to call it the mezzanine, it's just a big concrete echoey space. It was primitive is what it was. And you literally sat on wooden benches. But it was over there, oddly enough, where those football goalposts are. So it used to be you would not be able to see downtown from here, because Taylor Field was right there, and now it's not. I might actually walk over to the fence line over there, because I haven't really looked at where Taylor Field was since they tore it down. Clearly they've got what was the practice field is still set up to be used. Come back, and the breeze is a little cool going this way, and probably you're getting a lot of wind noise at this point. I took off the little piece of tape I've been trying to block wind with, because my sound was doing funny things, but it means there's absolutely nothing stopping the wind noise right now, so I don't even know if you can hear me or not. Not that anybody seems to be watching, since nobody has so much as said boo to me this morning during the live streamed portion of this walk. There's a nice canopied street with the leaves coming out. So we used to park over there, across that road, and we would be walking along here, and this would have taken us right down to Taylor Field, which is now gone. Now, I don't know where they currently are with what they're planning to do here with where Taylor Field used to be. Like, this grass was always here. This was the practice field, and there'd be barbecues and things out here before the game. So Taylor Field would have been where the dirt is over there. Quite the huge cleanup job, because it was a huge mass of rubble, but it's all gone now. Anyway, there's downtown through the fence. Okay, clearly they're still using the practice field here for a city field. All right, now we'll head home. So that's the Lawson swimming pool is under the slopey roof on the right. The field house is the big rectangular building on the left, and of course that's Mosaic Stadium poking up beyond it where we just were. They're calling for rain tomorrow, so far I haven't missed a day, but if it rains all day I probably will. Oh, great, train. Hope he's by the time I get to the crossing. Should be, he's moving pretty quick. If not, I'll wait. Not gonna argue with him. There he's getting to the crossing I came across. So that's, this is kind of the main entrance because the parking lot's on this side. You get dropped off on the other side. Parking here on this side, and you go in there. I've never swum in the pool. I've been in the field house more than the pool area. Again, not much of a swimmer. I blame some stupid teenage helper at the swimming lessons in Weyburn. I had not had swimming. I wanted swimming lessons. I started taking them, but because I was a beginner, I was older and bigger than most of the kids in the class. And you know, I was getting there, but I was slow and struggling a bit. And after I was really slow, completing a couple of laps, I don't remember exactly what we were doing, a couple of links of the pool or something, I got over to the edge, and this brat, I can call them now because I'm much older, leaned over and said, "Maybe you shouldn't come anymore." And that was the last swimming lesson I took. I don't know if I finished those and I never took any more, or if I just dropped out right then. So if I could find that person, I would have words for them. Now, they were probably 10 years older than me, but they're in their 70s now. Somehow I doubt they remember, but I remember. Kids are, you know, that was a bad thing to do. And I'm not a good swimmer because I never really continued lessons after that. At least that's how I remember it. Whether I actually did continue lessons, I don't know. Maybe I did. Maybe I did another year or something. But that convinced me right then and there that, you know, well, there's not much point in this because clearly I'm never going to be a competent swimmer. Thank you for listening to my tale of woe. Looks like we are going to have to wait for the train. He's still coming. Well, I won't talk while I'm standing next to him. Still got a ways to go. Well, that was exciting. Didn't know I was going to get to show you that on this walk. So, say goodbye to Mosaic Stadium. That light just changed, so I'm sure I can get across this time if I move. Right then. How long have I been walking? Yeah, you're about right. Yesterday was really long. I did an hour and a half. But yesterday I had somebody talking to me as I walked in. Today I am being ignored. Oh, here we go. We can't get through here, so we'll go this way. Start zigzagging our way back to you. Nobody knows the troubles I've seen. Here comes a car down the alley. It's a car wash. Isn't that exciting? Most live walkers never show you stuff like that. Nice view of the trees arching over the street. Again, one of the nice features of all these elms that we still have despite Dutch elm disease, which hasn't killed too many in Regina. Every once in a while a tree gets taken down, but my father grew up in Coffeyville, Kansas, which was once had these kind of beautiful elms. Dutch elm got in there and basically wiped out the urban forest. I've only been to Coffeyville once, but that was a long time ago. I'm sure there's more trees now, but it was a fairly bare place as I remembered as a kid. We're back on Victoria. Across if I've got no traffic, which I don't. was looking at my Apple Health app. Apparently I average just under, or just around 6 kilometers an hour on these walks. And my stride is just shy of a meter, according to Apple. So about a yard. So if you need me to, you know, pace out a football field or something, I can get pretty close. Give me a call. Reasonable rates. I'm a freelancer. Pretty much anything for a buck. Pretty much anything. I would draw the line at a few things. Oh, that'll take me down the same street I came up, so I'm going to go one more just to vary the return trip. There's one of the older houses. You can just tell by the design. It's more like houses I used to seeing in Ontario than here. Again, I always wonder why we don't have more brick houses. There's some, but not as many as you might think. There was a major brick manufacturing plant in Estevan. I mean, it's major enough that it's a historic site now. So when I get over to the Science Center, it's a huge brick building, and its bricks came from Estevan, as I recall. Garnet Street is the one I lived on when I first moved to this neighborhood, several blocks there. You can't go straight through because of the Cathedral school playground. Newer apartment buildings here, not that new, but newer than the other side of the street. This is going to take us right to the 13th Avenue Coffee House, which I mentioned on the way up to Mosaic. Because when I came going the other way, I emerged on the other side of the street over there. So we're just one block off of the path I took coming up as I zigzag back. You can see the spires always poke up around everything around here. I don't know how tall they are off the top of my head. Pretty tall. How's that for precise language? Somewhere between pretty tall and very tall. Multiple stories. Of course, things like that always look bigger when you're actually on them than they do from down below. Once you get up into them, you realize just how big they are. Mountains are like that, even more so. You look at it from below and you think, oh, it shouldn't take long to climb. I like these houses here are a nice set. I think they're all businesses now. Maybe not all of them. A couple of them are anyway. We'll go through here. So we go by the cathedral. There's the main entrance. That's Westminster United Church across the parking lot there. It has a lovely dome and a nice auditorium where I've performed more than once. It's used for concerts quite a bit. There's the side of the cathedral. And then down there is the back side of Holy Rosary School. The building here was the rectory, or maybe still is. Probably still is. Another set of pretty similar houses there. There's the rectory for Holy Rosary, Cathedral. Or maybe it's the bishopric. I don't actually know if we have a bishop. I think there's a bishop. Not Catholic, sorry. I don't know exactly what we have here. Of course, this is the new side of the Holy Rosary School. Also, I guess Regina Catholic School's Education Center here is in there. So that's kind of their office. Stay on the other side since there's people down here, so I'm not poking the camera at them. I'll point it over there so I don't think I'm shooting anything. Her piano once lived in the apartment building on the left there. It belonged to Madame Burkett, Alicia Burkett, I believe her name was. And she lived on the top floor there because she couldn't stand to have anybody above her. But she also had this Knabe grand piano. And she was friends with my wife's grandparents. My wife's grandmother, Nancy Goodfellow, was a musician and very involved with like Regina Musical Club, and she gave recitals and that sort of thing. Maybe she studied with Madame Burkett, I don't know. But when Madame Burkett decided to move back to England, she sold, I presume, the piano to Margaret Ann's grandparents, and it moved into the house that we live in, which has been in the family since 1939. So it probably showed up there in the 50s, early 50s maybe. And it's been there ever since. So it's, we know it was built between 1918 and 1929. 1918 because it has a sticker in it that proclaims the manufacturer's success at the 1918 World's Fair in San Francisco. And 1929 because the Depression made the factory shut down. And the Knabe company, the name still exists. I believe it's made, Knabe pianos now are made by somebody in Korea. So it's just a name. I mean, yeah, there's a, history there, but basically it's just a name at this point. They were the official accompaniment piano of the Metropolitan Opera in New York. They were supposed to be more voice-friendly as an accompanist piano than Steinway's. So it's not a concert grand, it's a baby grand, but it's a very nice piano. There's only one other Knabe in Regina, and it's at the University of Regina because it belonged to William Riddell. And a few years ago, they had Floyd Gadd, who's a piano technician here in town, to restore it. And we went to the concert where they, reinstituted this as one of their main concert pianos, which is very nice. And I intended to have him come and look at ours, and I still do, but of course, like so many other things, you're not really inviting people into your house. So the piano has remained untuned now for far too long, and it's in pretty bad tune. So I got to get that taken care of just as soon as I can. I'd like to play it more, but it's been hard again with my daughter at home and going to school. I can't play, and I'm not a great player, but enough to amuse myself. I can play some things really well. Not a horrible sight reader of kind of pop music, but can't manage classical very very much. Still, it's a wonderful piano and it needs to be tuned. That was a long way of saying that it used to live at the top of that apartment building several blocks back now since I talked so much. But must have been a pain getting it up and down those stairs. When we did renovations a few years ago, we just left it in the living room. They built a plywood box around it, heavy plywood box, and it just stayed there while they did everything else. They put it on casters and it was moved as necessary around the living room. Because they stripped, most of the house was this, the old plaster was taken down, so the house was stripped down to its studs. And then drywall and new wiring, of course, as the old knob and tube wiring had to go. So it was a major renovation. And alas, the new walls are already cracking. Not as bad as plaster, but in Regina, because we're on a clay gumbo, it heaves a lot as the year goes around and the moisture conditions change. The ground goes up and down and doors will sometimes close and sometimes won't. In those conditions, I doubt you'd find a house in Regina that's a few years old that doesn't have cracks in the walls. At least not down in this neighborhood. Coming up Metallic from the opposite side than I normally do. Take a walk up the Davin School sidewalk. This is where Alice went to school, and it has a nice, like the fact that it sits at an angle on this corner gives it a very nice front aspect, I guess is the word. So I took Alice to school. You go up here. Later she was walking. And it had some work done to it, especially in its gym, but some other work as well. So hopefully it'll be here for quite a while. Davin School. They renamed it the Crescent School, a decision I strongly disagree with, so I call it Davin School. Named after Nicholas Flood Davin. And it looks like the ivy is starting to get a little leafiness here on this corner. Of course, it's brick and Tyndall stone. You can usually find fossils in Tyndall stone. I know I found quite a few. Yeah, there's a few here. Like those paler spots there are fossils. Because of course this would have been this limestone would have been a seabed at some point. It often has a lot of shells and things like that in it. Usually anywhere you see something paler. Not that one, I don't think, but there's one. There's a good one with the shells. You can even see the shape, the detail on it a bit. Although the Tyndall stone doesn't come from here. Tyndall stone is mostly from Tyndall, Manitoba. That's where the name comes from. I'm feeling a few more drops, but got through this without getting wet, so that's good, except from sweat. And since it's cool, not very much of that today. Nobody at all has said hello in the live stream, so I hope somebody was watching live, but if you weren't and you're watching the recording, well, thanks for watching that too. Just about home now. So it turned out to be about an hour, unlike yesterday's hour and a half. An hour is easy. At an hour and a half, I start thinking, I kind of wish I was home by now. Garbage pickup tonight, I'll have to remember that. So much greener than it was just a few days ago with all the rain we've had. Really looks like spring now with all the green. It was looking more like August. The grass was so brown, but in places, certainly in our yard. I just walked up the corner. Normally I'm going the other way, and I stop at the stop sign directly ahead of us And the other stop sign is on the wrong side of the street, so I'm not going over there. We'll just stop when we get to this corner. And again, if you watched this live, even if you didn't say hello, I forgive you. Thanks for watching. And if you're watching the replay, the recording, well, thanks for doing that too. And I hope you enjoyed this walk up to Mosaic Stadium and the environs of Regina, Saskatchewan. Bye for now.